The mincer is the heart of every home butchery. Being able to take your cheaper scrap cuts of meat and turn them into something like mince. It's so versatile. You can make sausages, you can make burger patties, you can make salamis, the list goes on. There's just so many options. So getting one of these machines at home for yourself just unlocks so many possibilities. I personally have the T12 Mincer and I absolutely love it. For me, this one here is just the right size. It's nice, small, lightweight, and I can bring it into the kitchen, use it, make my mince, pack it down and put it away. But if you've got a bit of room at home, maybe you've got a shed and you can fit the T22, this thing is an absolute beast. Now the T12, it will chew through 150 kilos per hour of meat, whereas this beast will do 250 kilos per hour. This one here is fantastic for what I do, maybe 1 or 2 deer at a time, a couple of pigs, nothing too crazy. But if you're doing a whole cattle beast at home, going up to the 22, is going to save you a lot of processing time, especially with things like not having to be so picky with cutting sinew out and that sort of thing. Now don't get me wrong, this one will eat sinew, no worries. And the big question everyone asks, will it eat pawa? Absolutely, it chews right through even tough ingredients like pawa. So 2 fantastic options. Setup, right, what do you get in the box? So you're going to get 3 different size plates, 4 mil right through to 8, so you can choose whether you want fine grain mince right through in a nice coarse grain. 3 blades, so you've got spares, you've got 2 quad blades and a dual blade, and then you've got a nice chunky worm gear. And the other thing that comes in the pack is these sausage spouts. Now you can pump sausages directly through here, although I do recommend you check out our sausage press. It makes life a lot easier and it's a lot faster. Said everything in these is really, really solid. They're actually light commercial grade, so they're all stainless steel, which means you don't have a porous material for germs and bugs to stick to, and it makes cleanup really, really easy. Setup's a breeze. Slide that in there, lock the pin. So we slide the throat in, lock the grub screw, drop our tray on top, drop the worm gear in. That just locks into position. We're going to select the blade, choose your plate, screw it up. Now we only want this finger tight. If you do it too tight, you're going to push too much pressure on those blades and wear them out too fast. Too loose and you're going to get sinew binding up behind there. Now one thing, don't forget when you set it up, on top here there's a little screw you pull out for the breather. That's plugged up during shipping so you don't leak oil everywhere. You make sure you just unscrew that before you start, so as the gearbox heats up it can breathe. Now cleanup, it's just as easy. Undo that screw, pull it all out. What I do is I drop that in a bucket of warm soapy water. While I'm cleaning up the bench, that soapy water will dissolve all of that fat and half the work's already done. That's another reason I like this one, fits the sink really, really well. And so the setup of the T22 is very, very similar. Again, to pack it down, instead of undoing a nut, we just turn this lever and then the whole thing pulls right out like that. That comes off, throw it in the sink, clean it up. Very, very simple. Maintenance. Now there's not much to the maintenance because these are semi-commercial. They're designed to be super user friendly. A lot of people ask, where can I get oil for the gearbox? Simple, go on the Real Butcher website, look up Mincer oil and you're gonna find the Mincer oil. It's as simple as that. You undo the screw on the top and there is where you're gonna top up your oil. Maybe once a year, maybe once every couple of years. It really depends how much you use in the unit. If you do break a blade by accident, which is normally from people over tightening this, they are available again on the website or from your local distributor. Very, very simple and cheap to replace. All right, now let's do the fun part. We're actually gonna use it. So we're gonna make some sausage mix here. Very, very simple. We've got meat cubed up with some fat and we're gonna run it through and then I'll show you how we mix the rest later. Okay, so it's real simple to use. Down here, we've got forward and reverse. To be fair, I don't think I've ever actually had to use the reverse gear. These things are so grunty. But if it does get bound up, you can run it in reverse and put it back into forward. So very simply, we're going to switch it on into forward. And I'm just going to start dropping chunks of meat straight in there. And so I alternate between chunks of fat and chunks of meat. And that way I get a nice mix down here. Just dropping them in. Now you don't need to force the meat through. Let the grinder do its job. The colder the meat, the better. That way it slices instead of tears the meat and you get a nicer cut. So if you can chill the meat beforehand, it is ideal. Again, bit of meat, bit of fat, bit of meat, bit of fat. Give it a little hand if it needs it. And as you can see, it really doesn't take long. It just chews right through it. All right, so let's make some sausage mix. So here I've got the meat and the fat that I've already run through the mincer, and we're gonna add some water. We're gonna add some sausage mix in here. And what that sausage mix does is, there's a little bit of filler, but it's mostly flavor and binder, and the binder is quite important. So what it does is the proteins will bind together and emulsify so they hold. And it's not just about creating a better texture in the sausage, it also helps retain the moisture. So when it emulsifies, you don't lose the liquid from the fat and end up with a dry sausage. We're gonna add this in and we're gonna run it back through the mincer again. Now you don't have to do this step if you want to have a really chunky sausage, which normally I prefer, quite a chunky sausage. And one of the beauties of being able to do this at home is I can take the time to cut the sinew and the crap out of the meat, so you get a really just pure steak sausage. And that's why I generally run it through once and keep it nice and chunky. But because we're gonna turn some of this into patties, we're actually gonna run it through a second time and make sure it's really, really well mixed up so our patties hold their shape. All right, so it's very simple. We've got the meat here. We're gonna add some of this garlic and herb mix, pour that on. Then we're gonna add some water. And we're gonna start mixing this together. This is the fun bit, get in there with your hands. Now the Real Butcher does actually have a meat mixer, a 20-litre meat mixer, if you want to buy one and avoid using your hands. It keeps things clean, mixes things really, really nicely, and especially if you're using half frozen meat, your hands can get bloody cold. So people ask me, what fat should I use in my mix? Well, traditionally pork fat has been used. It doesn't add a lot of flavour to the mix, but also it renders at a lower temperature. So as you're cooking the sausage, it's going to liquefy faster. Also, when that sausage cools down, it's gonna harden at a lower temperature. So as your snacks are sitting on the table cooling down, a pork fat one will stay juicy, whereas you've probably noticed beef sausages can get a little bit waxy as they're cold. Beef fat is cheap and readily available, which is why I quite often use that with my venison sausages. But if you can get a hold of lamb or mutton fat, beautiful. That flavor mixed with venison is fantastic. So you're probably gonna use about 2 litres of water to a batch of 12 kilos of sausages. Always check the recipe. For instance, Boerewors uses half of that. It only uses about 1 litre of water, but adding water is gonna make sure your sausages is more juicy and a better texture. If it's too dry, it's gonna be hard to pump through the sausage press. All right, let's run this back through for its second pass. So as I was saying before, you can pump your sausages directly from your mincer. However, when you pass it back through, if you want to add things like onions, cheese, jalapenos, they're going to get minced to oblivion and you won't get that beautiful chunky mix, which is why we have the sausage press, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So now that we've run this through twice, this is the time that you're going to add your chunky stuff. So I've got here some diced red onion. That's going to go in there. If I had some, say, high temp cheese or some jalapenos, that's when I would also add it in here. A fantastic little ingredient would be chopped parsley or chives fresh out of the garden, and it really just, it makes those sausages extra special. So we're just gonna mix those in now, and that's it. She's good to go. We'll set that aside and we'll get the sausage press set up. Now the hard part, cleaning up. Nah, it's not that hard. Just throw everything in some nice hot soapy water and it all just comes apart, just like this. That pulls straight out. Drop it in, let it soak for a bit while you tidy up, and it'll all just fall right out. To pull this part apart, unscrew your end cap, take your blade out and your worm gear, drop that in, dunk that in the water, and then I just have a nice bottle brush to get in there and clean that out. Very simple, very easy to clean. And this unit, being nice, small and compact, I can throw that straight into the kitchen sink and it's a super straightforward tidy up.